Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are making a very interesting dish called the Minnesota hot dish. Now, if you're not familiar with this, Valerie Bertinelli had a show and she made this dish. And so I'm kind of following her recipe. So we're going to give a shout out to Valerie Bertinelli. Hey Valerie, I love your show. Anyway, we're making the Minnesota hot dish and today we're going to do mom's version. Basically, we're following her recipe. And we just tweaked it a little bit. We don't have white pepper. We do have nutmeg and allspice. And so what it is you're going to make the meat kind of like a Swedish meatball recipe. So we're starting off with some ground beef, very lean. I use sirloin in a dish like this to make it more tasty. Of course, you can use ground chuck, hamburger, whatever you want to use. And first of all, we're going to start browning our ground beef, and we're going to put in some white onion and some vegetable oil. I have just a very little bit in here. And you're also going to use a small white onion, so we're going to go ahead and cut that up and put that in here and get that to browning. Guys, what I've done is I've drained this ground beef. I've turned down the heat. We have our onion. Oops, we have our onion cut. I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And I just salted and peppered the meat. Also, if you remember earlier, I said there was a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and I don't have white pepper, but there's 1 and a 1/4 teaspoon of that. I went ahead and just used black pepper. So if you go look the recipe up, the recipe calls for 2 pounds of ground beef, and it's going to call for 3 tablespoons of flour. And what we're doing is we are cutting this recipe in half, so I had 1 pound of ground beef, and I'm going to put in 1.5 teaspoons of flour. We're going to let the onion cook down just a minute. I didn't put it in at first. I went ahead and cooked the ground beef. So we're going to let this cook for a few minutes, let that onion get incorporated, and then we're going to add our flour. Add the flour, and what you want to do when you add flour, should actually be some grease, and I've already drained the grease out of here. But I think the meat will give it a little bit of grease. So anyway, you need to make a roux, and you need to cook out that flour taste. So you need to make sure you let this cook for about a minute, and then we'll come back to it and add our beef broth. The recipe she used calls for 1/2 cup, so we're going to use a 1/4 cup of beef broth. And then we're going to use some heavy cream. Hey guys, I've got an 8x8 glass dish that I sprayed with avocado oil, and I'm going to get that ready. We're going to put the meat in there, but before we do that, we're going to go ahead and cook that flour down. We're going to add our beef broth, add our heavy cream, and we're going to add some vegetables. The recipe that she used calls for carrots and peas. We are going to add mixed vegetables today. We put the beef broth in there, and we have 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. I'm going to go ahead and add that right now. We're going to stir that in and let that cook for a little while before we add our vegetables. Okay, let's get that stirred in. Oh, guys, that looks so good. And you know, here's the thing. A hot dish is a northern thing. It's not a southern thing, really, but we are going to try it out today. So, let's get that beef bouillon cube all incorporated. Okay, and there we are, and we will be back in a minute and add our vegetables. That cook, I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit, and that looks really good. And now we're going to add our vegetables, and as I said, her recipe called for peas and carrots. We're just going to add what I have, which is mixed vegetables. We're going to go ahead and add that all in and let that cook down. And only take a minute or so, and then we're going to put it in our 8x8 pan, which I just showed you a moment ago. All right, there we go. We'll let that cook a minute and put it in our pan. Guys, we've added sharp cheddar cheese on top, and I've got about a little over 1/2 cup here. And then we're going to add some secret ingredient. You want to preheat your oven to 400 degrees. You want it to be really hot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refrigerate this and cook this later. I'm making it now so I can rest. There's our secret ingredient. Tater tots. Now you guys have probably seen all the tater tot casseroles. This is very similar to that. This is called the hot dish, Minnesota hot dish. I seen it on Valerie Bertinelli's show. I've adapted this recipe and changed it up just a little bit, not too much. And This is going to be so good, y'all. I can just tell you, because I love casseroles, but nobody else in my house likes casseroles. But today, we're making a casserole, okay? And so I'm just going to put these on top. I don't want too many. I don't want them not to get cooked, but we're just going to kind of mess around. We'll put those all in. And then when you're done with this, we're going to put another half a cup of cheddar cheese on top. It should look like once you have all the tater tots on top. And we're just going to shred or use some shredded sharp cheddar cheese and put this on top. I'm making a mess on my stove. I cannot stand a dirty stove, and it gets so dirty when you're cooking. And I am a messy cook. And so I'm using about, it probably is going to be about a cup when you're all said and done, maybe even more than a cup. But just put it on the way you like it. If you like a lot of cheese, put a lot of cheese. We like a lot of cheese. So I'm going to go ahead and put a lot of cheese on here, and I'm going to refrigerate mine. But you're going to want to cook this at 400. For about 30 to 40 minutes. And you'll be able to tell when the cheese gets brown and it starts bubbling up. So I appreciate y'all watching this. We'll come back with the finished product. That will be later, but I wanted to tell y'all this was a fun recipe to make. I haven't made one of these in a long, long time. I was so appreciative of Valerie Bertinelli for having this on her show. I watch her show, I tape her shows. I think it was a taped show, but it's called a Minnesota hot dish. I absolutely think it's going to be delicious, something different. You can serve this up with a salad and a little bit of rolls, and you'll have an amazing dinner, something totally different if you're looking for that. And I do appreciate y'all tuning in and watching this video. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Try the recipe. I think you'll be surprised. And hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks so much for watching. Mom's Cherished Home. Bye. It is going to be really good. I can't wait to try it. Bye for now.